Hey guys, my name is Danielle and I have been pregnant in the US and right now I am pregnant in the UK, and so today I'm going to talk about the differences that I've noticed. I had our first child, Willow, in the United States, so I was pregnant and gave birth in America. And now we're about to have our second child, and I have enjoyed, well, now I'm in my third trimester pretty solidly, so I've enjoyed several months of pregnancy here in the UK. So I figured it would be a great time to talk about differences I've noticed in just the process of being pregnant. We live in England, and so most of my pregnancy I have been in England for. However, I have done quite a bit of research and I've talked to a lot of people, and I think a lot of the differences that I've noticed between the States and England could also apply more widely to the UK. As I'm talking about differences that I've observed in living in the United States and in the United Kingdom, if your experiences are different than what mine have been, please let us know in the comments below. We love reading about other people's experiences, and it's nice to learn from each other. Getting care. So you're pregnant. Where do you go and what do you do from there? In the US, generally speaking, you take a home pregnancy test and you call somebody. What I did was I called local OB offices, like obstetric units, and I asked if they were currently accepting new patients. If they were, then I checked to see if my insurance would be covered by them, and if it was, then they would book an initial appointment with me. My experience here in England, though, was a bit different because when I found out that I may be pregnant, because of some health complications that I had, I was a little bit concerned because I didn't know the process because we had just gotten here. And so what we ended up doing was going to a local clinic and just straight up asking, I'm pregnant, where do I go? What do I do? And what they advised us to do was just fill out a self-referral form for a midwife online and wait to hear back. And that's what I did. And within the week I heard from a midwife and she booked me in for an initial appointment. Speaking of appointments, this is a big one. In the United States, when I was pregnant and had my appointments, I met with an OB. I met with a doctor of obstetrics. And that was just generally who I met with. Sometimes I would meet with the nurse first, but basically every appointment I was meeting with a doctor. Here in the UK, I meet with my midwife. And occasionally, because of my other health issues, I meet with an OB. But it's the exception to the rule. Number of appointments. Generally speaking, I would say that I had more appointments throughout my pregnancy with Willow than I've had here. And I think based on what I've read, it's pretty similar. Of course, it depends on what your pregnancy is like, whether you're low risk or high risk, and all those other things. But I do think that I tended to see a doctor more frequently in America than here, which is interesting because both of these pregnancies have been low risk. Another general difference that I've noticed is just in the general attitude of staff. I have loved all of the staff that I've gotten to interact with, both the staff in America and the staff here. And by attitude, I don't mean they have negative attitudes. I just mean they seemed focused on slightly different things. In America, it seemed like they were constantly managing risk, and they were constantly gauging whether or not my pregnancy was at risk or if the baby was at risk. And I was hearing a lot of the statistics and things at appointments. For instance, when I went to go get my 20-week ultrasound in America, the doctor was the one who did it, and every single organ was checked and measured, and he talked about every single one and gave me sort of the stats on whether or not there might be a problem or not. Here, it was really low-key. The ultrasound tech was wonderful, and he basically just really quickly reviewed everything, measured everything, and then told me things were good to go. I think the main difference here is just the USA seems really concerned about risk, and maybe they assume that there might be risks, where it felt like here, everyone essentially assumes that I'm gonna have a healthy, uncomplicated pregnancy. Money. This is a fun one. In the United States, every single appointment I had, I got to meet with the lovely people who work behind the front desk, and we discussed the payment plan. Every single appointment. I would get a printout of a bill or just an update on how much I should be paying at each appointment in order to spread out the costs of the labor. A lot of out-of-pocket costs, even with insurance. And that was just a normal part of my appointment that took about 5 to 7 minutes at the end. Was just that check-in with, here's your progress toward paying your bill. Here in the UK, I don't have that part of my appointment. I walk out of the office and I don't have to stop and chat about my bill. Y'all may need to help me out with this next one, which is traditions surrounding pregnancy. I haven't noticed that many differences, but maybe that's just because I don't know a ton yet. I know that there are some similar old wives' tales about where I carry the baby telling me whether it's a boy or a girl, but I'd love to hear if there were other weird superstitions surrounding pregnancy here. That would be fun. Some general traditions that are really popular in the States, though, would be gender reveal parties, which are exciting, I guess. I've never actually had one. Whenever we find out the gender, we just quietly message my parents and Matthew's parents, and that's it. But they look like a lot of fun, and from what I've read, they started off in America. They're very popular there, and they're trickling over here too, and it seems like they're becoming more and more popular here. Baby showers. Again, very, very popular in the States. Almost everyone I know has had a baby shower. I mean, if they were pregnant, obviously. And they are very fun. You get a community of women around, and you get advice, and you get free gifts for your baby. It's fun. And again, from what I've read, it sounds like they started off in the States, but now they're becoming very popular here too. This next one is definitely anecdotal, but belly touching. When I was pregnant with Willow, right around the stage where I really started to pop out, I would go for walks in grocery stores, just grocery shopping, and I had multiple encounters with strangers where they would just walk up and touch my belly. And it was slightly uncomfortable for me because it's my stomach and I don't know these people. Since being pregnant here, no one has touched my belly, which maybe it just hasn't happened yet. Maybe I'm just not quite big enough yet, or maybe it's just not as much of a thing here. Please let me know. The last category I wanted to briefly mention is the amount of support that you receive being pregnant. And again, this is just my own experience, but when I was pregnant with Willow, I basically watched a few YouTube videos on the birthing process and I read a couple books. And that was the extent of it. I got a brief tour of the hospital. They showed me what a birthing room would look like, and that was it. Since moving to the UK, it's been different. I attend a couple of different toddler groups with our daughter Willow, and they're wonderful. And since being a part of these toddler groups, I've met a lot of women who talk about the antenatal groups and classes that they attended with, their pregnancies and with these people. And they're best friends with these ladies and these couples that they took these classes with. That sounds amazing, and it seems like they're really common. And I know we have some classes in the States, but they weren't readily available, not advertised as much, and they don't seem to be as common. In summary, generally speaking, these pregnancies have felt pretty similar. I'm still getting bigger and bigger every single day. I have a lot of the same symptoms. The first trimester was terrible, but I'm also really loving just being pregnant in England. It's been great. We're also thinking about doing a few more videos about baby, finishing out this pregnancy, giving birth, the labor process, and newborn things. If you have any suggestions, questions, or ideas for additional videos or information that you would like from us, please leave those things in the comments below. As always, feel free to like and subscribe. We put out new content every single week, and we will see you next time.